What's up, Combat Sports fans? This is TBE Combat Sports back at you again. Today's topic: Sonnen taps out again. Tap out king Chael Sonnen submitted by Ariel Helwani in heated interview. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That's like you for riches, huh? And I got the glitzy, run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, Combat Sports fans and boxing fans, this is TBE Combat Sports and TBE Boxing. Okay, so we're going to talk about an interview that I saw today. But before we get to the interview, let's go to the videotape and take a look at this.
Got sloppy, and Ngannou just scored a knockdown. Well, what do we have here, folks? They got this fight.
That was the greatest crossover performance
By far.
I have ever witnessed in my.
Okay, so that was the Predator, Francis Ngannou, knocking down Tyson Fury in their match that we saw last weekend. That was a knockdown heard around the world. So this interview I saw earlier today with Ariel Helwani and Chael Sonnen was pretty interesting, and it concerned Francis Ngannou was actually the main topic of the conversation, and the narrative that was put out there by Dana White after Francis Ngannou left the plantation system called the UFC was that Francis was looking for easier fights for big money, and that he didn't want to bet on himself and so forth and so on. So basically, Dana White was saying, that Francis Ngannou was trying to take the easy route. Lazy. He was lazy and trying to take the easy route. Didn't want to bet on himself. Didn't want to take any real fights or tough fights. He just wanted to get easy money, big money, and easy money for easy fights. This is what Dana said about Francis Ngannou, and that whole thing, came about because Francis Ngannou, wanted to get paid more than what he was getting, which was, substandard pay from Dana White. He wanted more money, and also he wanted to do some boxing. Like McGregor did against Mayweather. As we all know, boxing pays 10 times what you get in the UFC. So basically, Francis wanted to make some exciting fights, entertaining fights, and make some money at the same time. But Dana White, for some reason, didn't want to do that, which I don't understand. I mean, he would make money from it, if he had partnered up with Francis and went on ahead and made some of those big fights in boxing. It would have been good for Dana White, good for UFC, and good for Francis Ngannou. But the fact of the matter is, Dana, seems to me like the kind of guy who believed that his way or the highway. Okay, so basically he got like a plantation system over there at the UFC. Top heavy, everything controlled from the top, and whatever he says goes. And if anybody else, try to like suggest a alternate, an alternative route or anything else, he feels. I guess he feels threatened by that for some reason. But basically, he feels that the money that these guys are getting is enough, and they should just shut up and fight. That's basically what it comes down to. That's basically Dana White's perspective, and it's basically a plantation mentality. And you know what I'm talking about when I say plantation. Okay, so this is what Dana has over there at the UFC. There's a lot of controversy going on about him, not paying the fighters, and we see Jake Paul take it upon himself, to publicize the fact that he doesn't believe that the UFC is paying the fighters enough, which they're not paying the fighters enough. If you really take a look at it. But so that's what it is what it is. But anyway, so the whole thing that came down with Francis Ngannou was that he decided to leave the UFC because of the whole plantation mentality that Dana White has over there, and he decided to bet on himself and go out there, and he took a big chance, and basically Dana just kind of cut the limb out from under him, and he had to go out there and sink or swim. So when he left the UFC, a lot of people took the Dana White narrative and ran with it. And Chael Sonnen, was one of those guys. He's a company man basically. He took the Dana White narrative and he ran with it. They're talking about Francis fumbled the bag, and that was the general consensus of most of the people over there in MMA, that somehow or the other Francis fumbled the bag. And he wasn't gonna. He just left himself out there, and who what especially since he didn't get the fights right away with boxing matches right away with like Tyson Fury. So he was out there for a little while, and everybody was coming down on him basically, and saying that he fumbled the bag. He fumbled the bag. So fast forward, he got the fight with Fury. Now in the boxing community, a lot of people, was criticizing Fury for, taking up this fight with Ngannou because of, they're saying it's a gimmick. He should be fighting Usyk. He's ducking Usyk. Why is he fighting Ngannou? It's a farce. It's a joke. It's not going to amount to nothing. Fury's going to knock him out, and he's just looking for easy fights. And that's why he's fighting Ngannou, an MMA guy. Because you know what happened when the MMA guy fight boxers? It's a wash. So there was all these negative comments. So it was coming from the boxing world in terms of the fight itself, and it was also coming from the MMA world in terms of the criticism of Ngannou. That he fumbled the bag. Anyway, let's fast forward again, and now the fight is over with between him and Fury. He almost knocked out Fury, or he knocked him down, as you just saw in that clip. And the whole boxing world done did a total 180-degree turn, and now Ngannou is basically the face of heavyweight boxing. As a matter of fact, well, you can go so far to say that Ngannou has basically saved heavyweight boxing. Okay, so now that he's getting a lot of accolades, and he got the fight for the big money with Fury. One of his few supporters in the MMA who didn't think that he fumbled the bag was Ariel Helwani, and Ariel Helwani took a lot of criticism for supporting Ngannou, but he supported him anyway, and he took the criticism in stride. So now that it's been proven that Ngannou, didn't fumble the bag, if anything, now he's gonna get huge bags, and that Ariel Helwani was right for supporting him the whole time, which he did. Now there's a lot of people out there now. Now that they see that Ngannou done got the fight, and now we hear talks about Ngannou fighting Deontay Wilder. We see Eddie Hearn coming out there and practically begging Ngannou to take on Joshua next, which is a big money fight. We're talking 20, 30, maybe even $40 million for Ngannou in a fight like that. So this is what's going on now with Ngannou. So the whole narrative about him fumbling the bag, has come to an end, and and the whole thing looks ridiculous now. Talking about him fumbling the bag, he's in the best position that anybody could be. As a matter of fact, right now, surprisingly and shockingly, Ngannou is a top heavyweight. I mean, after just one fight, he's a top heavyweight in boxing right now, and everybody's looking to fight him, including he might be a rematch with Fury if Fury gets past Usyk in their undisputed. So we could be looking at Ngannou fighting for undisputed in the near in the immediate future. We're talking about maybe in sometime in 2024. So the whole world is an oyster now for Ngannou, but you still have some reprobates over there, the MMA people like Sonnen, Chael Sonnen, talking about, oh, he did fumble the bag, and Sonnen was over there trying to basically trying he tried his best in this argument with interview with it was more argument than an interview that he had with Elwani, and he tried his best. Sonnen went out there and tried his rhetorical best, and Sonnen, he's a good bullshit talker, so he tried his best, to talk. So basically, what he was trying to show is that even though Francis made all this money and he got big money fights coming up next. He's trying to dismiss all of that and say, "Oh no, that the narrative that he fumbled the bag still is still valid," which is a silly argument by Sonnen, which I couldn't even really believe was making it. So he tried his best to dazzle Helwani with brilliance, but he couldn't do it. So he ended up when he realized he couldn't dazzle Helwani with brilliance. Then he tried to baffle Helwani with bullshit. That didn't work either because and Helwani had all the receipts. So Chael standing, like the like a spoiled brat, he tapped out basically. He submitted. He got submitted by Helwani, and Chael Sonnen tapped out again. The tap out king Chael Sonnen. He tapped out again. He got submitted by Helwani and he quit and jumped off the air, abruptly, without even saying basically goodbye to Helwani or ending the interview in a respectable manner. And in the whole time he was, insulting Helwani during the interview, because Helwani kept calling him on his bull, that pointing out that he was talking nonsense basically, and he kept getting upset. Like I said, he kept trying to, make arguments, but in the end, he couldn't dazzle Helwani with his brilliance, so he tried to dazzle him with bullshit. He tried to baffle him with bullshit, and that didn't work. So he ended up taking all his marbles and go home. So he jumped off the air, goodbye. I mean, it was ridiculous. So that was the whole breakdown of this interview. It was pretty entertaining, to watch it. But again, these guys, they just won't let go of this narrative about Francis fumbling the bag. I mean, so you could see that it's basically, now that Francis have landed these big fights that's coming up next. He landed the Fury fight, and he got some couple big fights coming up next. These guys seem jealous. Chael being one of them. To me, it looks like it's just jealousy. At the end of the day, they didn't like the fact that Francis left the UFC, left the plantation and decided to make it his own, and he made it on his own, and that's really burning them right now, especially I would think Dana White, because right now Francis is the biggest name in combat sport, whether it's boxing or MMA. At the end of the day, and we all know what happened to the flagship fighter for UFC at this point. They're basically out of commission. Jon Jones is out of commission. He had a surgery recently. He's probably going to be out for a whole year. So Francis is now the man. Okay, and he signed with the PFL. So the PFL is reaping a lot of benefits right now. The kind of benefits that would have been reaped by UFC if they had just went on ahead and made the Fury fight while Francis was still with the UFC. Which I up to now I still can't understand why Dana didn't want to do that. But again, it's all that it's that plantation mentality. They just feel that, like I said, that Francis should just shut up and fight and take the little money that they give him and be glad he's getting it. You know what I mean? So that's the Dana White philosophy. It seems like at the end of the day, but Francis, being the man that he is, he decided to, like I said, bet on himself, and he bet, and now he's the man. I mean, you got to bet big to win big, and he's winning big right now. And so, it looks like Chael is a little, miffed. He's a little miffed about the fact that Ngannou is out there, shining right now, and the fact that Helwani supported him the whole time, and he's mad at Helwani. Basically, it seems like he's mad at Helwani because Helwani is rubbing their noses in the dirt. about the fact that Francis made it, and he was supporting Francis the whole time. So it's a whole big upheaval now in the MMA world. Right now, Francis is probably the most hated man at the UFC. Because from Dana White perspective, you know what I mean. So yeah, so these guys don't like to admit that they're wrong at the end of the day, and so nobody, I've really heard Dana White come out and say anything about you know Francis's success, congratulations or anything like that. All we have heard was his fanboys, people like Chael, coming out there and talking about, oh yeah, he still fumbled the bag. The bag is still fumbled. He could have made more money in the UFC. In what universe is he talking about? I mean, right now, Ngannou is getting ready to do a huge fight with probably Deontay Wilder. I mean, they're practically bidding for his services right now. We're talking about millions of dollars. Saudi Arabia is ready to put this fight on today if they could. You know what I mean? So there's big money going on. So right now, Francis Ngannou, the Predator, is at the top of the heap. He's the man right now. In MMA and boxing. Okay, and I mean, just yesterday he had nothing. He was let go of the UFC. I guess Dana White thought he was gonna just disappear, or he was just gonna fail. Okay, and they were looking forward to Francis failing, but he didn't fail. Okay, and the rest is history. So yeah, shout out to Ariel Helwani. Congratulations on your support for the Predator. You was 100% right. Okay, Chael Sonnen is just talking nonsense. He's mad. He was mad in the whole interview because he kept, he couldn't make his point. Elwani kept, you know, producing receipts on him, and he ended up getting mad and walking off the interview. Basically, he got submitted. He tapped out. So Chael Sonnen tapped out again, the tap out king. So uh, you know, Elwani is the victor as far as I can see in that interview. You know, he submitted Chael Sonnen. I'm not sure how many times Chael has tapped out, but this was a big one. This was a big one. Chael Sonnen tapped out, submitted by Ariel Helwani. What an amazing occurrence. Okay, if you want to call it that. Yeah, it was fun to watch. So with that said, we're gonna keep an eye on what's going on with Francis. Big things coming up for Francis. PFL is on the rise. It looks like UFC is going, is on kind of in decline right now. I think PFL is getting ready to do some, guys. I think Dana White, not Dana White. I mean, Ngannou is the African, the PFL African promotion. What I'm hearing, because I heard that from Dom Davis in some interview. I think the interview they did with Chael, that the interview they did with Ariel, that Ngannou is going to be the head of that African promotion, and so there's going to, maybe the Deontay Wilder fight might happen in Africa, because we hear talk about African fight with Joshua, so it could happen with Deontay Wilder as well. They might have that fight in Africa under the PFL banner, because from what I'm hearing, Deontay Wilder is supposed to be fighting MMA first, and then they're gonna box after. So yeah, it's a lot of exciting news. So we're gonna see how it all plays out. Again, big things going on for Ngannou. For Dana and the UFC, not so much. But again, we're gonna see how it all plays out. Make sure you tune into our TB Combat Sports to get the latest combat news and information and headlines. This is TBE saying, I'm out.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That's like it for riches, huh? And I got the glitzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.